Okay, and I see I am live. All right, it's 1 o'clock. We'll give people about a minute to get started, to join us, and then we will go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone joining us and thanking every Black woman owned for providing this platform for us to share this valuable information about digital well-being. And so let's give people about 30 more seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started. If we can get that presentation pushed to the, let's see what it's called, push to the stage. Got it. Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of redecorating and then we'll get started. All right, it's 101. We're going to go ahead. Everyone who is here on time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Digital Wellbeing, a crash course. So we are going to take a very long class and we're going to smush it down to 30 minutes. What this class contains is a sample of our longer digital well-being course. So what are we going to cover today? First, we're going to have a few more introductory remarks. Then we're going to dive into each of our 3 objectives. So first, we're going to reflect on our digital habits. Next, we're going to talk about what is digital well-being. After that, we're going to talk about just 5 strategies that you can implement today to improve your digital well-being. After that, we'll open up the floor for any questions and we'll wrap up. So, to get started, let's make sure that everyone can use the chat. I think that we're not able to see the chat from YouTube, but we should be able to see the chat from LinkedIn. So, can everyone tell me where you're joining from? Are you joining from the DMV area? Are you joining from the ACL? Somewhere totally different. Just go ahead and type that in the chat so that everyone can see where everyone else is joining from. I see that Watson is joining from Maryland. Okay. So, why did you sign up for this class? Digital well-being is incredibly interesting topic. I love it, but why are you here? Why did you sign up for the class today? So if you feel like sharing, go ahead and type that in the chat as well. And then one last question. What is one habit that you'd like to improve that's connected to your digital well-being? All right, I see Shani's joining us from Virginia. So it looks like we're from the DMV area. Okay, I see someone from Ohio. All right, someone wants to improve their doom scrolling. So let's start with the question. I am going to be asking a lot of questions because I like asking questions. I see someone just joined us from New Jersey. Our first question, how do you feel about today's technology? Do you feel that it's beneficial or do you feel that it's harmful? So if you have access to emojis, you can just drop an emoji in the chat, a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or you can just write the word out, whatever is more comfortable and quicker for you. So go ahead and put that in the chat. How do you feel about technology in general, especially the technology that we're facing right now? Oh, I see someone from St. Louis. So how do people from St. Louis feel about technology? All right. So someone says that it's beneficial, but it can be overwhelming. Well, I'll just put on the stage what one famous philosopher said. It all depends on how we use it in our lives. So let's think about right now. Let's take some time to think about how we're using the technology in our lives. So think about how someone says they feel a little overwhelmed. Okay, and I can get that. So think about how much time you spend online because in order to make changes, or maybe you don't need to make changes, but in order to make changes or to improve, you have to know where you are. So, how much time do you currently spend online? And then also think about what different platforms do you use? I see that someone said that AI has been beneficial. So, is there a particular AI platform? I know a lot of people like ChatGPT, but where are you spending the majority of your time when you're online? Are you spending it in one place? Uh, my weakness used to be Flipboard. So I spent a lot of time on Flipboard. Some people, usually when I give this class, the thing that comes up over and over again It's TikTok. But why do you spend time on that particular platform? Okay, someone says cloud and then LinkedIn, Threads, and TikTok. Okay, so I see a person already talking about TikTok. So now that you've thought about how much time you spend online or how much time you spend on a particular platform, one more question. What device are you using? And that's going to come up later. So, because we're going to talk about devices very, a little bit. So, what device are you using? Are you always on your phone, or are you on a tablet, or are you on a computer? So someone says that they only can use Copilot for their job. Walton says that she's on her phone, or maybe that's a tablet. I don't have my glasses on. So I'm going to say it's a phone though, because that's what I want it to say. So we thought about that. Now let's get to the core of our presentation. So the key question that we're going to talk about today is digital well-being. So think about what digital well-being means to you. So we're all on the internet because this is a live stream, right? So don't cheat, don't look it up, but take time, write it down, type it, keep it in your mind. Think about what digital well-being means to you. Okay, I see someone says they're on the computer and their phone. Someone's going back to our old question. Someone's on their iPhone and their computer. Alexis is on her computer and her phone. So now that we know what devices we're using, where we're spending our time, and now we're thinking about what digital well-being means for us. If you feel comfortable sharing that definition that you came up with, it's personal, so you don't have to share it. But if you feel comfortable, go ahead and share what it means to you in the chat. So, what does it mean to have digital well-being in the chat? And this is something that in the full course, we spend an entire 30 minutes. So, I know that in 30 seconds, you're not going to have a detailed, long answer. But if you wanted to go ahead and share that in the chat, you can go ahead and drop it in. And this is actually where we're going to spend the majority of our time today in our 30 minute session. So I'll get a teaser up while we're waiting for people to put their definitions in the chat. So Elizabeth says that she uses TikTok for releasing tension and moving out of the work zone. I've heard that a lot of people say they use TikTok in order to decompress and to calm down. So you're in good company, Elizabeth. Well, if I don't have any takers to give their definition, or not yet, because it looks like it's a little bit of a lag there. But I will tell you what my definition of digital well-being, or the definition that we're going to use today. Understanding the tool and resources. So that's very related to what my definition is. It's the state of balance and harmony between what we do digitally and our overall health. So not overdoing a particular tool, not overusing a particular tool and letting it take over our lives so that our health is negatively impacted. So that's one definition. It's not the only definition. It's just a quick definition that we're going to use today. So chances are you're probably already doing something to support your digital well-being. So, what are some tips you would share with others to support? What do you do for your digital well-being? What are some tips that you share with your friends or you share with your immediate circle? How do you already maintain your digital balance or your balance? So, I'll ask the person who says understanding the tool and resources. How do you make sure that you're balancing your overall health with your use of digital technology? Well, we have an example here. Just taking a break. I think earlier, another time when I gave the call, someone said just putting their phone down. Okay, Walton says she tracks her use and sometimes puts herself on the timer. That's actually what I had to do for LinkedIn. I put myself on the timer. So I have in a day, I have a budget of 1 hour to be on LinkedIn. So we all do different things. But we're going to concentrate today on just 5 tips So they're going to be using do not disturb. Oh, I like what Alexis says. Alexis says doing a social media fast ever so often. So having that scheduled time to shut down social media and not to have it. Another thing you could do is to uninstall the apps from your phone and just access them as a web page. That's something we talk about in the longer class and in another class. Okay, someone says intentionally leaving your phone in another room. We're going to hit on that when we talk about our fourth tip. So far we have do not disturb. We're going to talk about reducing notifications, updating our bedtime tech, and limiting our icons and going outside. So let's go right into this first tip. So I'm going to ask another question because I said I like asking questions. So, what are some circumstances I like what Sean says about not bringing a phone to the dinner table. That is an excellent tip because we have time to enjoy our food without our phones, and whatever is on our phone will be there when we come back. But a new question for everyone is what are some times when you may want to use do not disturb mode? So, piggybacking on what Sean says, when you're eating, you may say, I don't need to get any important phone calls or anything while I'm eating. I'm going to concentrate on eating my food so that I can enjoy it. What's another reason why you may want to implement do not disturb mode? Any other suggestions on why you might want to do that? Well, when I'm driving, okay, to not be on the phone. Right now, on my Windows device, I have on do not disturb mode. I don't want to get pop-ups and important, get distracted by email that someone sent me while I'm giving this presentation. So there are several reasons why we may want to have do not disturb mode on. But let's say you don't know how to turn do not disturb mode on. So here are the instructions that you can take right now to find the settings on your phone. You can just, if you're on an iPhone or Android, you can go to swipe down, go to focus, and turn on do not disturb. But what if you're on a Windows device? And I'm sorry for your Apple users, I don't have those instructions on any of these slides. That may be something if a lot of people say that they're Apple or Mac users, I might have to come back and add that later. But on your Windows device, very similar. Go to your notification center and just click the bell icon, and it silences all your notifications so you're not going to get distracted by those notifications. So I'll give anyone need more time on this. I'll give maybe 5 more seconds and then we'll move on to the next slide. All right. So what if you don't want to silence all of your notifications? Because when you turn on do not disturb, that's everything. What if you just want to reduce the number of notifications you receive? What options do we have there? Well, you can use reduce notifications. You can just modify the notifications you receive on a per app basis. So, can you think of any instances where you would want to reduce your notifications, or you may want to change the notification settings for a particular app that's on your phone? So, one, going back, let's see, I'm going to scroll up to look at what some examples that people used so that we can stay. So, let's go with TikTok. Let's say that you really like TikTok. So, Elizabeth says, so we're going to actually talk about phone use before bedtime, but let's say you really enjoy TikTok, but you're not using it necessarily for your job, but you want to be able to see the notifications that come through. So, what you can do is you can go in and adjust your settings so that you're not getting your phone doesn't buzz every time your favorite TikTok influencer creates a new video. The example I always use is a friend I have who we're walking down the street and all of a sudden their phone buzzes and I'm thinking it's something important and it's TMZ talking about what some celebrity did. You don't have to turn it off altogether or even uninstall the app, but maybe you don't need to get that urgent alert that draws your attention away. So how do you do that? So here are your instructions on the iPhone. Again, go back to settings and go to notifications. Extremely similar for your Android devices. Go there. Same thing for Windows. You just go in and you adjust those notifications. So this is something, again, right now, if you know you have a problem app, if there's a particular social media app that you're not using, like some people, it's their job to check social media all day. So you need to get all your alerts. But if it's not your job to do that, you can go in and make those changes right now while we're on this live stream. And you will have implemented one thing to improve your digital well-being. Here's one more way that we can use technology to improve our digital well-being. Have you ever heard the phrase out of sight, out of mind? Has anyone ever heard that? And no one can raise their hand, but let's say that you've heard the phrase out of sight, out of mind. So if you have 100 apps on your desktop screen, what happens? It becomes distracting. Even if you have a lot of icons on your cell phone, and they all have badges saying you have 100 messages here and you have 2 messages in LinkedIn there, it becomes distracting. What are some other ways or other reasons why you may want to reduce the amount of apps or the amount of icons that show up on your screen? Can anyone think of any other reasons why you may want to reduce the amount of apps that show up on your screen? Give people a few seconds. Okay, you have, Christina had a chance to join late, but we're recording, so you can always go back and watch. So it's okay. We all have things going on, so we always can't jump on. But I appreciate you hopping on, Christina. So no one wants to say has any other ideas about why you can reduce apps. It just cuts down, basically it cuts down on distraction. It cuts down on distraction is sometimes your device, depending on what type of icons you're showing, sometimes your device, I have a printer that randomly just started, but sometimes your device is um, it helps your device to run better. So there's several different reasons. But here are again your instructions on how to do it on both. So you don't feel windy. That is an excellent reason so that you don't feel obligated to read. Because once you see that badge, then it kind of it weighs on your mind a little bit to see that notification there. Just know it's there. You also not we're not going to talk about in this class, but you also can turn those badges off so that you don't see that number of messages pending. So if it's something that's not urgent and it's just a nice to know item, then you can actually turn that off. But here are your instructions in order to do that on both your iPhone, your Android, and Windows. So for those three things, we just talked about three of the settings that you can adjust. And we've kind of mentioned some other things. I think Walton talked about timers. Someone else said about driving mode. So in 2018, both Apple and Android put a new setting on your phone called digital well-being. And within that digital well-being setting, you have some pre-created modes and you also have the ability to adjust your settings. Okay, someone says to eliminate distractions. That's an excellent reason to reduce your notifications. So you can go into your digital well-being settings on your device and you can set up monitoring. You can set up your different focus modes. I used to have a focus mode during the day so that I wouldn't get distracted by apps during the workday. So I wouldn't see all those different notifications. There is actually a work mode. We talked about having a timer so that after 55 minutes, LinkedIn starts, I know that I'm going to not have LinkedIn in 5 minutes. So it keeps me from making sure that when I'm in there, I have, I'm there with purpose. So I see that someone said that they're going to look up that setting right away to time that. So this is something just important to keep in mind. But, we're not anti-technology here, right? What's important is to remember that technology isn't the only answer. It's just a tool to help us go through our days. And so if we keep it in its place, then it's going to be helpful for us. But even with our digital well-being, we have these technical tools that we can use, but they're not the only tools. We also have things that we can change in our behavior in order to modify or improve that balance, because remember, it's about balance. That's our quick definition, right? We want to make sure that our digital technology use is not negatively impacting our health. So that goes right back to, let's see who said this. I think it was Elizabeth. What Elizabeth mentioned, 30 minutes before bedtime, she shuts down. She does not use her phone or her device. And one way you can make sure that you're not doing it, if you're the type of person that charges your phone overnight, charge it in a different room, right? If you like reading and that's how you use your phone, pick up a physical book, right? You can do other things in order to relax before bedtime. Okay. And so Christina said that she already has limited her social media accounts because there's so many things, coming at you. And so she wants to take time to focus. So has anyone else made any other adjustments to their bedtime routine to support their overall digital well-being? Wow, because I think there is a little bit of a lag on the chat when I'm seeing the chat. But one thing that I have, a setting that I have is more technical, going back to those digital well-being settings. But at 10 o'clock, my phone goes to sleep, so everything gets grayed out, and so it makes it is less of an incentive for me to look at the phone because it's gray, and every 30 minutes I have to say, "Oh, turn back on the color, turn back on the color." So that's one way to make sure that you're not getting caught up in using your phone at bed during your bedtime routine. Another thing, very simple thing, not very simple right now because it's very cold outside, but when it's not cold outside, is just to go outside more. Even if you have your phone, but don't look at your phone the whole time you're outside. But there's so many benefits from just going outside. And most of the time, that's when we get our best ideas. So just taking the time to step away from your phone, going outside is going to help you. You're going to be more likely to get exercise because you're going to walk a little, then walk a little bit more, right? You're going to be out in the sun, so you're going to get more vitamin D. Then it's going to help you on the slide we just went through, right? You're going to get better sleep and you're going to have improved focus and creativity. So I know that everyone was, vigorously taking screenshots and writing down notes, but just in case you didn't do that, here is a link to the companion handout where you can actually get all of the links that were in the slides. And I'm going to look, I think I can drop it in the chat. So I'm going to try to drop it in the chat too, so that the people on LinkedIn can get it. But this link is going to take you directly to the download. So you don't have to worry about, well, if I click on that link, I'm going to be getting emails from you from now until. No, this is going to take you directly to the download page. This is so that you can get the information because that's important. And then you can make your own notes. If you're a printer, you can print them out. If you're a digital person, then you can do sticky notes and write additional things on that handout. But this is just so that you can get that information and those how to steps because we are zooming through this information and you may not have had time, or like I think it was Christina, you might have joined late, so you didn't get the first few tips. So you can go ahead and get that link while we talk about our key takeaways from what we just discussed. So, first thing to remember is that each person is going to access their own relationship to the technology. So, what works for me may not work for you, but it's important to personally have balance, right? Also remembering that quick definition of digital balance is being, I just said the word again, being the balance between using our digital technology and our overall health. So remembering that. And then finally, technology is not always the answer. So we're going to use a combination of the technology that we have and our behavior change, just like we do with almost any other thing that we want to do. We're going to use those two things together in order to be healthier. So, one last quote. So, that's it for the 30 minutes. We finished, guys. Still have about 6 minutes, but we have some more wrap up to talk about. But I hope that you have some new thoughts about digital well being. Did anyone hear anything that you want to investigate further? I think I saw someone saying that they want to put app limits on. But is there anything else that someone wants to look into or maybe share with someone else because you didn't know that it existed? Okay, I see that someone said that. Um, Someone was monitoring their time online, and so they started doing the games. That's a good way. When you work with others, that helps you maintain those habits because you have someone, an accountability buddy. Was there anything that's we didn't cover that you're interested in learning more about on this topic? Okay, Christina said she had to mute an Instagram group so she could focus. I have to do that sometimes with group texts. There's certain group texts and they just go, go, go. And so in my phone, I have an Android phone for that particular app. I had the ability to mute only that particular conversation. And I still, again, going in and adjusting those notifications so that I wasn't always getting all those messages that weren't related to me or anything to do with me. But I didn't want to leave the group chat or delete it. And plus, I still, since it was a text message string, I still would have ended up getting it anyway. So I just muted the chat. Okay. And they just dropped it. So you may be wondering, what are your next steps? Well, I always say this every class that I do. The most important thing to do is to put what you learned into action. If you never think about digital well-being again, take one tip from today, whether it's something someone put in the chat or we just talked about, may not be one of the slides, but take one thing and start using it right away. If you don't, there's been studies that say after 1 hour, you're going to forget 50% of what we talked about. We only talked about 5 tips. So you're going to forget 2.5 tips by this time in an hour from now, but up to 75% after a week. So go ahead and implement at least one tip today and use the example of, let me find out, when the person who said that she worked with her husband and they started being accountability buttons. And so now they have a contest to find out who can spend the least amount of time on social media, or if they want to make sure that we have this limit. We only want to be on 1 hour per social media platform per day. Just come up with that, set that goal, and start working on it. Don't try to do everything at once, though. Set one goal and work on it. Another thing you could do is to bring this entire full length class to your group or your organization. And in the class, when we go through the full length class, we talk about several topics in a lot more detail. So we talk about reflecting on our use of digital technology. We go more in detail about what digital well-being is and how it interacts with our overall health and well-being. Also about understanding the risk, because we didn't talk a lot about risk of what happens when we let our technology take over our lives. But we also talk about the benefits and how we can use technology for good. And what are some ways that we may not have thought about it, right? Because that's what Rainwater Growth, we focus on tech informed productivity or using tech for good and as a helper and not as an overlord. That was a little bit strong. I didn't mean to get that strong with it. But and then we also talk about privacy, right? So what are some potential issues with us sharing our information online? Because sometimes we just share, we want to share information with our friends or even with just a company, but making sure that we understand some of the ramifications of sharing our information online and the impact of technology on people. That's actually a double objective. So it's because we behave a little differently when we're online than we would when we're interacting face to face. I don't know, we don't have the ability to raise hands, but some of us may have noticed that sometimes people's personalities almost seem like they change. You would never guess that they would have said or done something that they did online, uh, that they did in real life. So that's something else that we talk about in that particular class. And then finally, going deeper into identifying the strategies that we can take to improve our well-being. So, with that, I'm gonna open up the floor for any questions. And if we don't get to the questions right away, then you also can always submit them on the site. Go to rainwatergrowth.com/contact and I will get back with you. So if you want to put any questions in the chat, and of course, I have more quotes. Uh, oh, that's Black Woman Owned X there. So again, remembering technology is not good or evil, it's a tool, and it's all about how we choose to use it. So if you want to find out more about rainwater growth, here's a slide to find our website, Eventbrite page where all our classes are listed, LinkedIn, connect with us on LinkedIn or Flipboard, and I'll drop these in the chat as well. I'll try. And give you the ability to connect with me. That was a really bad drop in the chat, but hopefully if yours is a link in there that you'll be able to get it. And here's my LinkedIn information to be able to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So with that, that is everything. I appreciate everyone hopping on, and I hope to hear from you soon and to learn what was your one tip that you are going to implement.